Let's get the meeting started. 7 o'clock. This is a meeting of the Town of Norton Zoning Board of Appeals. There are 4 items listed on the agenda tonight. The first is the continued application for 0 Bennett Street. The applicant is Dan Rich. Owner is Joanne Horton. And I think I see Mr. Rich. Sorry?
Are you gonna run through the agenda first? Or?
No, we'll open with that.
Okay.
And we continued this from
Yeah, a couple times I could do. Thank you very much.
last meeting, of course. And so did you come up with any further information that we had discussed or that we didn't discuss?
Well, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, one of the issues was that the lot was created by his parents, I don't know, 20-something years ago when they deeded part of it over to the gentleman. They retained themselves a smaller lot, which is the one in question.
Yeah.
And the issue was at that time of, can you, it's sort of like you created your own hardship. I think one of them that was raised. I did look at, I have a case out of Taunton, Massachusetts, Lamb versus the Zoning Board of Appeal. In that particular case, the individual subdivision, and there were 2 lots that were part of the subdivision. They were undersized. When we sold the subdivision, they, person that bought it, developed the subdivision, but he had these 2 lots that were undersized.
Okay.
He let them go. He didn't pay any taxes on them because he didn't think he could do anything. He let them go by tax title. The original person that subdivided it bought the 2, went back to the town and asked for variance. And the judge, and the zoning board of appeals, the zoning board in town said no, because you were the original person.
Yeah.
You got him, and you knew that. They actually went to Superior Court. Superior Court said, yeah, I agree with the zoning board of appeals. They appealed to the appeals court. The appeals court says no. That's not a fact. That shouldn't be a fact if it's now, just because he was originally, he's the one that did it. So in this particular case, that was Lamb versus the board, the zoning board of appeals in town. And they cited, the appeals court cited different reasons why that this person, even though he initially started and he knew it when he bought it back in tax title, that it was not, I know I decided, but that should not preclude him from getting a variance. So in this particular case, it's a little bit different, because Mr. Bacon, yeah, and it was the 3 siblings, they got it from their parents, who the parents were the one that did this a long time ago. And that shouldn't preclude Chris from getting, and his 2 sisters from getting a variance, because they, in fact, they didn't start the process. It was given to them from courts, or actually, it wasn't really a probate, it was done prior to the death, so technically wasn't a probate, would have been a probate had it gone to probate, but they didn't do it, they got it through a deed. But the 3 people that own it now had nothing to do with it. This was done well before them. It doesn't denigrate from the variance rules. It doesn't denigrate from the attention of zoning. In that area, there are a lot of lots that are very small because they were created way prior to zoning. This was not created prior to zoning. I'm not trying to tell the board that it was. It was not done prior to zoning. So it didn't qualify for small dimensional lot. But it didn't denigrate, it doesn't denigrate from the zoning intention. It doesn't denigrate from the neighborhood. There's been no opposition to it. The house is going to be 300 feet back. And I understand it, and it's a concern that I was raised last time, I'm not sure which member, that they felt, well, it wasn't you, but it was your parents. And again, I alluded to that lot at the end of Tipping Place, where that lady, it was a little bit different issue. It wasn't an undersized lot, it was a frontage lot. And this board granted her a variance. She actually sold the lot and retained half of it for herself in the back. It fronted on Tipping Place with only 40 foot of frontage. And she came back to this court and obtained relief from this board, and she obtained relief saying they gave her the variance, and she subsequently sold the lot. But she actually created her own hardship on that one. In this particular case, it's different, as they take it when the parents did it and gave it to them later on. His lot's not big enough, but The house is gonna be 300 feet, you won't even see it from the street. There's several lots right that are contiguous to it, that they were built on prior zoning, where they built prior zoning that don't comport with the 80,000 square foot. Now, in fact, a lot of lots on 101st Street don't comport with the 80,000 square feet that's required right now. So I just don't think that to deny a variance based on, well, you didn't create it, but one of your relatives did, so that's too bad. I don't think that's fair to the Baker family, the three owners right now. And I have that case if you want to.
Well, yeah, I'm not, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Not a problem.
Would have to read it over, obviously, but, when were the lots divided? What year?
I think it's 1993. Let me just, I got that here.
So it was after the implementation of zoning?
No, yes, no, I'm sorry. That lot was relatively, 2023, no, 2023 was when this piece that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Was granted from the mother to the three children. That was in 2023. The other one, they did it to, let me see, I have that.
Well, when was the lot created?
When she sold it, yeah, I've got that, let me get that information for you. Baker's actually received a lot back in 1983. And then that was the bigger piece, and Mrs. Baker and Mr. Baker, I get that deed, which I give you 1 second. It was after the zone, obviously, the zone.
Okay, so the notes that I have were the parcel was created in October 1994 when an A&R plan was recorded.
1995, I have it. They subdivided the parcel to Joyce Major, and it took place in April 25th, 1995.
Okay. Well, what about 102 Leonard Street?
102 Leonard?
Yep, the lot off to the other side.
102 Leonard.
It's on your map.
Yeah, that was owned by, I think, Mrs. Baker. I don't think it was owned by Mr. Baker.
We had asked for if you knew the history of that lot,
You know what, I don't.
because that was cleaved off as well, right?
I'm not sure when that one was. I didn't show up on my map. I know there was a bigger parcel on 11th Street,
Okay, so
but I don't think Mr. Baker was on that one.
it was, the lot in question was created in 1994 after zoning was in effect.
Right, oh yes, absolutely, exactly.
The small lot statute 1033 was in the zoning bylaws at the time.
Yeah, but that wouldn't apply. I initially had written a letter to Nick. Nick said I think Nick's opinion was it doesn't apply. He talked to the building inspector, excuse me, town council, and town council came back to me and said, you have to prove these things. And we couldn't, because it was simply not a small lot extension.
It was created after.
Yeah.
After zoning,
Right, a small lot exemption on this does not apply.
But when it was created, the zoning was in effect, so
Okay, right, yes.
a small lot exemption was there in the bylaw. So we have to understand that they knew they were creating a non-conforming lot.
Oh, no, I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that
Okay.
at all. What I'm saying is, his parents had done this,
Yep.
and then they
But-
get it from that.
Yep,
And so
okay.
you're saying, well, your argument to me, it sounds like is that, well, they created their own they created their own hardship, so therefore there shouldn't be any
Okay.
relief for them. But the cases that I just told you, the one especially right off Tipping Place, right up the street, she created her own hardship.
Yep.
In fact, I think she had applied, I think I have the opinion, she applied many years ago and it was denied and she came back again, or she withdrew it.
But that was to create a cul-de-sac. That's how it was resolved, I think.
Right, but what I'm telling you, Mr. Noel, is that she created that, and she got a variance in that.
But there was already a house there.
No, the
It's
house,
not a house.
the house was in the front. Her lot, this lot was like
So it
this.
was a separate lot. It was a different
Vacant,
lot.
it was a
All right.
vacant lot, it wasn't, he's correct, it was a vacant lot.
Okay, does the board have questions?
So the note I put on my last one
Yeah.
was, when it changed was our question, one of our major questions. And we got the answer, was right after.
Yeah, we're not arguing that at all.
But I don't think for some reason I wrote that, so
Yeah,
I think that was one of our questions, so. That's the only thing that
Okay,
I think that's the only question that I had.
we don't know what the zoning requirement for lot size was at that time.
I think it was 60,000 square feet. Remember I told you last time, even at that time, it wouldn't have been a legal lot.
Okay,
And then changed the zoning to 80,000 afterwards, but it wouldn't, if, just say we go back in time, and somebody tried to do it then, still wouldn't have comported to the zoning bylaw at that time. It still would not have been big enough at that time.
other questions for the applicant? I'm gonna ask if anybody else in attendance has, input on this for or against the application is filed? Or in attendance remotely?
No hands raised.
No hands raised remotely. Anybody else in attendance to speak for or against the application? No? Okay, is there a motion should we close the public hearing or do we need to know more? I haven't read that case, so.
No, that's my only question, like, I wanna look at that case.
I was, the one I just cited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I haven't looked at it.
that, I don't have no problem with that. I mean, and I do have your own cases on that one on Birch Street, because I think that's pertinent. That's your own decision, I can give you a copy.
Can you give us a copy of the appeals court decision?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a copy now or do you want to email it? But I'll ask you to email it before the meeting, not.
Yeah, that's fine. The reason I was trying to, the attorney, I knew the attorney that did it, I was gonna ask him some questions.
So,
No, I think that we should at least look at that before we make a decision.
okay,
It may impact.
all right. I mean, the next meeting is December 11th. Is there a desire to provide that latitude?
Absolutely, I'll do it. This is too
Do
important.
you want to do that? Make a motion to continue?
I would say yes, just because he brought it to our attention, we should definitely look at it.
Okay.
I know we're continuing it again for a third time.
No, you'll be fine.
Talk to council and ask for their opinion.
Yeah, we have some council, emails in the file but it was from May, or from February, actually. This is all changed a couple of times.
Kind of time from that.
Well,
That letter
Misunderstanding.
was in my response
Yeah.
to the small exemption.
Yeah.
You gave it to me, which I do not call it, I'm not sure if you get a copy of my response to that was, we couldn't comply with the small.
I think
exemption.
that's part of this email chain. I'm just noting that
All right,
it's back in February, and I actually crossed out part of what she said. I said it doesn't apply anymore, so.
that's right.
Okay, then motion to continue to December 11 at, again, verse 7:01, call it. Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Any further discussion? No. I will try to contact council to see if he can guide us further, but with that case, that will hopefully get within the next couple of days, so we can chew it over.
The building inspector or to Brian?
Thanksgiving, but chew it.
I would send it to Brian.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah, either one.
Well,
I can
I'm
assist,
sorry.
whatever's easier to
Yeah,
do.
either person, not to us directly,
Right.
we'll get it from them, and thanks for, pass it
I
along.
mean, I wouldn't mind probably having a decision at that next meeting.
Well, I think we
Oh,
should
yeah.
be moving it along.
Yeah.
Right, the motion is to continue to December 11.
Yep.
All those in favor of that motion, Mr. Tenori?
Aye.
Mr. Noel, yes, so continue to.
Thank you very much. Jake.
We'll look at that, but yeah, send it to us in the next day or two so we can.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, thank you. I'll also dig up Birch Street again. I remember that matter, but didn't bring it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is, 0 East Main Street, Island Brook LLC, comprehensive permit, chapter 40B.
They had sent a continuance
I can,
today.
I don't know if you got it. I don't know if it's addressed all the members too, but yeah, oh, Brian passed it along, right?
I forwarded to, them during the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've asked for continuance. Graves Engineering peer review is still not done. I don't know what's going on there, but we had a signal in September, I think, that there was some scheduling issue. I don't know if it's internal to Graves or if it was the applicant's delay in getting plans to them, but I don't see any reason to not, honor the request to Timmy unless there's any other.
No, I'm good with that.
Yeah, so we're continuing this. Is there a motion? Let's do a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to continue 0.
To the second item on the December 11 agenda, say 7:03 or something.
Yeah.
Second, all those in favor, Mr. Tenoi? Aye. Mr. Wozniak? Aye. And Mr. Noel? So we're just continuing things tonight. Well, there are two other matters, so let's get to that now. The next item on the agenda is 0 Hill Street. The applicant is Dan Campbell. The owner is Anthony LaRusso. Who is here to speak about that? Just, yes, you are. Who is going to speak to it? Can you identify yourself for the record?
I'm just feeling it, but,
Are you Mr. LaRusso?
yes.
And is this, who is setting up?
Nick Fasanola from Level Design Group.
Level Design?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a camera you want me to point the board at? or-
We don't have,
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
unfortunately, it's on our computer.
You gotta be here to see the pictures.
yeah,
Well,
we haven't fully set up the town hall yet,
we'll
so.
probably turn that.
Turn the camera
To see the,
Yeah, I can point it if you want, or this
That's-
way, or,
It looks like the
I
paper.
mean, it's not a whole lot going on, but it's okay. Have you officially opened, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
go right ahead and, tell us what you are looking for. It's a little confusing. Yeah, I think you're looking for variance relief for 3 parcels in
Yes.
one application. But are they separate parcels yet?
They all, well, that's the thing, they're, hold on one second. Yep.
How far is it? What's the, I live on Crane Street. I don't know how far is that, what's the distance? It shouldn't be, I'm not a buyer. I should be okay, right?
Yeah, did you get a notice?
No, so I should be all right.
Then that's more than.
If you didn't get a notice and you weren't on the abutters list, you shouldn't be in the abutters.
It's not that technical. If you feel,
No, I'm good. I just want to make sure. I'm good.
You're
with
comfortable
this.
doing that.
Yeah, I'm not a buyer, but I live on Crane, so.
okay, and disclosure to the applicant, Mr. Tenori lives on Crane Street, I don't know the way it is. The applicant is comfortable with this.
Thank you. I'll trade you.
I think we're supposed to do
To disclose to me.
Yeah.
That's the way it's a conflict. Yes. We have somebody talking online. Oh, he's busy by now, right?
Okay.
Who's that? That's this extraneous noise?
It was one of the butters that left their mic on.
Okay. Go ahead. Sean.
Sure. So for the record, Nick Fasanola, Level Design Group. I work with Dan Campbell. He's the person who submitted the application and has been coordinating with the town on this. So to answer your question, to the town, it's one lot. There's one assessor parcel for what I'll show as this whole area. So
Okay.
except for what is
That's
called lot
separate.
4.
That's
Correct.
separate.
Lot 4 is a separate property owned by a separate owner. The reality of the situation is that these 3 lots here were created back in 1967.
Yep.
Which is, they show up on the assessor in GIS map as like dashed, so it's that they're there,
but I don't think the town was officially recognizing them as individual lots. That's why the application came in as one application for the 3 lots. They don't have parcel numbers, but they're
Do the
legally
lots-
created lots
do
from
the
an A&R
lots-
plan.
Extend upward, or is it just the lower squares?
So the existing lots today are 1, 2, and 3, and this is their extent. So currently, they're buildable, pre-existing non-conforming lots.
Well,
That's what they would be technically.
So if you identify those as 3 lots, then what's the back?
yeah,
So the back, this is just a separate parcel of land.
That would be lot number 4. If that's what you're trying to explain to us.
The 4th lot, there's lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and this never had a lot number. This is just a parcel.
but this is all one owner, right?
Correct, yes.
Except for the one.
Except for the little one.
Except for this, where the existing houses.
Is
Yes.
there's a home there, correct?
Correct. It was there in 1967 when this subdivision plan was endorsed by the planning board
Okay,
and recorded. So these are
yeah, thanks for cooperating, for
created lots.
doing
Yep.
yourself
Push
around.
that too,
We're
sorry.
dealing with the camera and people.
The primary reason, this is why I brought this plan as well. This is the record plan.
Is there an A and R in process now?
So there is no formal A&R. What we have here, this is a draft of a plan, and it just shows what we're proposing to do should the relief be granted. And what has occurred over the past few months,
Yeah,
Dan has been in contact with planner, with town council and the building official, because there was many interpretations on how to look at this. And what their determination, town officials, planning, building, and town council, was that a variance would be required to add additional land to these 3 existing parcels. So what the goal is,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I kind of got into
I want you to keep
the meat
talking.
and potatoes of it.
I didn't
So-
understand what had happened and not happened, so this is exactly
So
good.
the goal of the application is to add this remaining land behind each of these existing 1, 2, 3 lots to give them more land area, right? It's an R80 zone required, that's 80,000 square feet of required land area.
It wouldn't
These have about 20,000 ballpark existing.
existing, what would they have if?
They would have anywhere from 50 to about 50, 53. So just under 50 to 53 and
They're
change.
still not meeting the RE.
Still not meeting the R80, which is why I believe zoning
Yeah.
is saying that it's a variance.
Well, you have your building official right here, building commissioner.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I wasn't gonna interrupt, I'll.
Well, we'll have to, we're gonna have-
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
So you want to extend it from Hill Street all the way back to, say, the new walking path, correct? That's that new walking path?
Yes.
Yes,
Right?
correct. Okay, I just want to make sure I was understanding that right. Yeah, and then this would be, a remaining parcel where, possible future development or whatever would occur. This really isn't.
That's all wetland.
It's
Yeah,
wet,
that's all right.
yeah, possible,
Just one at a
possible.
time, but what, I'm sorry to
That,
point,
where
but
he was just pointing to was a body of water.
Correct, yeah, I mean, if we can fit a single family house here, they would like to do so.
There's
if possible.
also a cemetery there, 5 cemeteries.
Yeah, it is, yeah, and I thought there was also an egress in there for something.
I looked this up and I didn't see development, so that explains it. I mean, I just looked on Google Maps quickly. That's the one house that's there. Is the owner of that one house here? Yes?
All of us right here, the 3 of us.
What is your name?
So I'm Amy Conley, we live at 61 Hill Street.
That's the one house in the
The last
center of
one.
all of the horseshoe? Thank you.
I actually know your house well, I swear to God.
How you know Philip?
Well, I know the old Whittemores that used to own it. I was friends with their sons.
We'll ask you to comment in just a minute. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, so the goal here, or the goal of the application is, I mean, these are three buildable lots, no matter what. They were created, these three.
They're not buildable without relief of some sort.
No, well, they're pre-existing non-conforming. They were created prior to the implementation of the zoning bylaw requirements, which you have today in the R80 zoning district.
So if I may, real quick.
Yep.
What I was talking about earlier was the packet of emails that we sent back and forth with the town council. Her opinion of these three lots is that they're now having common ownership.
Yeah.
But from a zoning standpoint, they're one lot.
That's what I
That was
was
her
gonna ask you to
opinion that
get
was
to.
sent to Dan.
That's what I was gonna
Okay.
get to in a minute, but go ahead and tell us what you're intending
The intent is to have three buildable lots here.
and put up three residential.
Put up three standard residential, single-family
Single-family,
dwellings
right.
with septics and, you know,
Did
all the standard
You did
appurtenances.
give us plot plans showing the house where it would sit, the houses where they would sit.
Yeah, so you're given a plan showing that of a house on the tiny lot
Yeah.
and a house on the expanded lot.
I don't
And what the
think
difference
I don't think I
would
saw it on
essentially
the
be.
tiny lot, placed on the tiny lot, but I saw on the expanded lot. Oh, it is on the tiny lot.
Yeah, and then they become bigger rectangles. If you keep going in the package.
Which one's that under the, because there's two, Hill Streets.
It should be the ZBA one, Jim.
ZBA 1-5.
Mhm.
No.
No.
I printed out this
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, right.
So they're pictured on the small lots. I don't think I see them pictured on the larger expanded lots,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
but, okay. Oh, yeah, what do you know? Shows how much I was paying attention when I looked at this yesterday and today. Okay, and that's why 1A, 2A, 3A as opposed to 1, 2, 3. The A signifies the larger expanded lots.
It's a modified lot, correct.
Okay. Nick, I wrote those down.
Yeah, I was gonna wait until you finish to give them up. but-
Yeah, well, let's listen to the
I
applicant
mean,
first.
no, that's essentially the application, with regards to what's being proposed here.
This
as
today
far
right
as-
here has one lot.
No,
See, that's one issue, that's one question, I had. How would we handle
I
it?
mean, I'm not aware of the full conversation there, but, you know, a record plan subdivided this into three lots, going back to 1967. Correct. So,
We have records of that?
I mean, it's right here, recorded at the
Oh,
registry.
that's part of what we
Yeah.
show is the
Yeah.
whole plan.
This is-
Got it. Now,
And I believe it's in the documents.
It's in
Yeah.
the document.
do you have a plan before the planning board now?
No, but before we go to planning board to do said subdivision or modification of lots, it was detailed that this relief would be required. So you get the relief first, then, based on my experience, if you get zoning relief to create, or modify parcels, you're then a definitive subdivision with 1,000 waivers on it. But town council also said, no, it'd be an A&R. So there's a little bit of, it's not the way I have seen it done multiple times in the past, so there's been a lot of back and forth on this item with the interpretations of town council, and we respect town council's opinion,
Yeah.
and that's why we're here with this application. To me, these are pre-existing non-conforming lots, and we should be here for a special permit to modify legally created pre-existing non-conforming lots in an attempt to make them more conforming, to add more area.
Can you tell me why between 1967 and now, the records weren't clarified?
I don't have that information, and the owner doesn't have the history on
You might not have been around in that.
what has occurred. I mean, obviously, when lots are created and they don't get built on right away, sometimes these things get lost in the shuffle. But it is noted that if you pull up the GIS map, there's clearly dashed lines here signifying that the town was semi-aware of this situation, whether
Yeah.
it was, they gave them actual parcel names and numbers, but it's clear that there was some sort of awareness
Understood.
to do that. So, now, are there individual deeds for each parcel? No, I don't believe so. So I think that's maybe why separate assessor, lots and numbers were never created. But just because the assessor doesn't create an assessor parcel, doesn't mean it's not a legally created lot. That's kind of
Okay,
where we are today.
can I ask members, you have questions for the applicant at this point? On what the applicant said or what he's looking for?
No, I think I understand what he's doing. When was how long has Mr. Russo owned the property now?
Couple of months, yeah, recent.
So my question off the bat is, why these didn't merge by operation of the same thing I was just citing?
When zoning was created?
Yeah, which for the record is bylaw 175-6.3, small lots, contiguous lots, non-conforming lots. And I won't read the whole thing, but basically, A, B, and C. A, a vacant lot having at least 50 feet of frontage and 5,000 square feet area. Each of those small parcels has that.
They have at least that, yes.
Yeah. Right? Laid out by a recorded plan or deed prior to the adoption of zoning in 74. And not adjoining at the time of the adoption any other vacant lot or lots of the same owner may be built upon so as to conform to a minimum side yard, 13 feet, minimum front setback of 25 feet. Okay, that's what part A says. B, if the lots or lot in subsection A at the time of the adoption of zoning adjoin other vacant lot or lots or non-vacant lot or lots of the same owner, they may be built upon within 5 years from the date of the recording of the deed or plan, or from the date of the endorsement of the plan as not requiring subdivision approval, whichever is earlier. Now, I don't know which one of those two things operates, but we're talking about 1967 and then adoption of zoning in 74. So basically, if one owner had small lots sitting side by side, contiguous, zoning comes in 74 and says, well, you need bigger lots. So as not to be unfair to the prior owner, this says, you got 5 years to build on the small lots. That was a nice 5 years from 1974. That's part B. And then part C says any non-conforming adjoining lots in single ownership prior to the adoption shall be combined for building purposes in order to provide a lot as close to the zoning minimum requirement as possible. So if you don't build on it within 5 years, whoever owned it then, 74, adoption of zoning, you have 5 years to build houses on these small lots. We'll give you that because we changed the laws unfair to us change the law, we give you 5 years to build. That doesn't happen. I think part C says they merge into one to create as big a lot as you can get. Now, maybe that's more than one lot and there can be some other division into two. I don't know, but
Do you remember the case from like 8 years ago on the reservoir where they had the checkerboard?
Yeah.
This is not the checkerboard,
right.
and that's what you're reading is correct.
So without having read the email chain, and I will ask for copies of that, is that basically what you understand council's position was, or was there a denial of anything from your office?
No.
This is not an appeal, right?
No.
It's an application for variance.
Yeah, so
Question, just, was this opinion conveyed to
it
Dave?
was, I have all the emails.
Let's ask Nick first. Yeah, what is your understanding of the history? When did this come about? And
So this whole situation, which the email chain showed, Dan reached out to Paul, the town planner, about this, asked him some questions. Paul brought me in. We sent over the proposed plan. Originally, he wanted to do an A&R.
That's what I'm
Which
saying,
is an
A&R,
appro-
right, it's on that time, so
Which is
I
an
was confused too.
Yeah, so an approval not required. Planning board, I think, is the only board that can approve the movement or changing of lot lines in a lot, not the zoning board, right? So that was the original proposal, was to A&R these 3 lots. we'll call it 4 lots, right? The bigger parcel in the back,
Okay,
the 3 in the front, to create 3 bigger lots.
the taller lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Town council's original opinion was that the planning board cannot endorse an A and R plan if there's not sufficient or adequate frontage based on the zoning district that the lots fall within. These lots each have 125 feet of frontage,
About,
give or
Yes,
take,
correct.
125 feet of
Around
frontage.
those.
one's a little,
So in an R80 zoning district, you require to have 150. So council's opinion was that the planning board cannot endorse an A and R plan because there's not adequate frontage. Second to that, her opinion was, now that even though these lots were created before zoning, as you just read in 6.3, they're held in common ownership. They've now been merged for zoning purposes into one single lot.
I assume they were in 1974, held in common ownership.
They've been held in common ownership for 11 months, give or take.
Yeah, but Mr. LaRusso bought
Prior
it
to
for.
that.
Yeah, I don't know what the action or how many people,
Who is
You
it
bought it
purchased
from?
from? You know,
It was one estate.
yeah, so it was one.
An estate?
Yeah.
So that was her
Yeah.
opinion of all of this stuff. Secondly to that, kind of like a 2A thing, was that if the lot lines are recreated through an A and R plan, these are no longer pre-existing non-conforming lots.
Right.
They're newly created lots that do not conform to zoning.
Yeah.
So you're creating a non-conforming lot, which I don't believe from a zoning standpoint you're allowed to do.
Well, then they would have to come to us and say.
Either way, they'd have to be here for relief.
Right, and that's, I don't know.
But then you get jammed up because now you've created your own hardship,
Right.
right? So it's kind of like a catch-22. From our standpoint.
Okay. So then applicant applied to us for variance relief and they might.
Yeah, so again, maybe I missed it. My suggestion, and you'll see it in the email to Mr. Campbell, was 4 separate applications. So each individual parcel had a decision on it. I guess not assuming, for lack of a better term, assuming, the variance was granted, the decision would have to reference the individual parcel number for each lot.
Yeah.
Which
Which is a technical problem that I foresaw, are these lots or not, and we never had one application for like 3 or 4 lots, that's planning board. My
You don't really have to
understanding.
come for relief for each lot, but right now.
That's
pretty
what-
much
yeah.
as well.
we've run into this issue before, like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing, right? Planning board or zoning board,
But this is
but.
I think we
I
have.
think there's
Tom
more-
read-
I think
what
there's
Tom
more
read is
here.
Exactly what we stand by,
Well, if it's black and white bylaw, I think it's,
on our perspective.
yeah.
No, but I think we have to go back to, again, like we were talking about, I think when the zoning was created, after 5 years, it was merged. And it's one lot,
for building purposes.
for building purposes. It's not 3,
Yeah.
or 4, as all 3, really 4, is what you're saying.
I guess the only question I would have, and through you, Mr. Chairman, would be the 3 small lots up front and the bigger parcel in the back. Were those purchased from the same person, or were those separate lots that you just acquired separately? I know the 3 up front were purchased together.
No, I purchased them all together.
Okay, so they were all sold, they were all purchased from the same person.
The question I have, the legal question is, did one owner own them all in 74 at the adoption of zoning? I think it sounds like that is correct.
Yes.
Hold on. I think it sounds like they were, from what we understand, but we could ask the applicant to present us with who owned the property. I mean, that's what Amy tells us to do.
Right, I would,
Ask the applicant for information that would allow action. But in this case, we're kind of asking the applicant to shoot himself in the foot because
yeah,
he's gonna, I assume, and come back with, they were held by state, before the estate, it was people or a company or something. I don't know that. But not knowing that, I mean, I'd suggest we should find that out before we render a decision, although.
You do have a deed in the documents,
Yep.
but that's from 86. It also
Yeah.
references a sale in 78.
I saw that from 86 and I wondered why that was there. Do you know, what is that, the whole parcel or you don't?
It's not really clear to me what it's, whether it's for the 3 up front or for the whole thing.
Right,
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't have those details. We'd have to do some
yeah.
detailed, digging, at the registry of deeds, to get that information.
The my take for our purposes is, aren't they merged into one, assuming that they were,
So this deed from 87.
whether it's one big parcel or as the town records kind of show, or 3 or 4 different parcels as the town records kind of show, and I'm not faulting, the applicant.
No.
Town records, but I'm not sure how we could come out and say,
How does the,
I mean, the applicant could go to planning board, and he present a plan where he divides it up into bigger lots that have frontage, either 2 or 3, I don't know if there's enough for 3, and I guess if they're side by side, no, only 2. And then say, we're gonna move for this A&R, and then come back, or maybe even get conforming lots then, if they A&R it. Although you said,
Planning board is looking solely, from town council's opinion, solely at frontage.
so the applicant could create 2 lots with sufficient frontage, and maybe sufficient area too, on A&R, and then wouldn't need to come to us at all, or maybe come to us
well,
for,
why does that deed in here show the map? There's like a recorded, you know what I mean, a plot plan, and it shows. That's weird.
which one are you
But it
talking
was sold
about?
as, but it was sold as.
It was sold as one, but the,
Well, the deed itself even says
Right.
lots 1, 2, and 3, but
Oh, it does.
I can write that on my deed that I have 3 lots.
Yeah, but I think the point to reference it, Jim, is that, even though in 74, there were 4 lots, the second bylaw was adopted in 79, that date in 74, 5 years later, if they haven't covered ownership, your window is ceased.
no, I know that, but why? And I guess I don't understand maybe that process of the deed. How does that get filed?
But at the end of the day, it was the adoption of the bylaw. The
I
time
get-
passed.
I get it, totally get it. I get it at that point. If we're arguing, just for argument purposes, if it was one owner,
Yeah.
zoning comes in 5 years later, zoning says, hey, nope, sorry, it's all one lot.
Yep.
How can you file a deed?
You can record anything.
Yeah,
You can? I don't know that
You
process.
pay the 45, whatever it is now, and a tax stamp at the recorder of deeds, and it'll, we had. in Rhode
That's like
Island,
a plot plan, though.
But you could file it, I don't know if it was filed for separate lots or for the whole one lot. I don't, you could file anything, you could file, people have filed deeds or liens against judges that they have rights against. I did a case once.
Yeah,
A judge in Rhode Island sued the person who messed up his title by just filing BS. And we went to court and got the court to expunge the record and,
right, and say,
because the judge was trying to sell his property.
so just because that now suggests that there's, 3 different,
Yes, it's not the end of the story,
okay.
but I know what you're saying.
I wanted to just make sure that,
But even so, as Lucas is saying, if there are 3 lots or 4 then, I mean, this is 86, this deed, but this shows that there were separate, smaller than required lots.
And because it's common,
right,
Yeah.
he can, again, creating hardship, he can create 2 lots that will most likely be born.
no, I just
It
didn't.
looks like it.
Yeah, I just wanted to know about, I guess he can, I just wanted to make sure that, I wanted to know how that could be filed. I guess there's no checking, right? You can file it, there's no checking.
The recorder takes it, and you check it, and it puts it in a book with the numbers, stamp, the numbers here.
Yeah, it's part of my 48 years, I've never done, so.
Yeah.
Take
You
it
don't,
back.
you don't wanna be registered deeds either.
Exactly.
These things up here,
Okay.
you just get stuck in a book and given a page number and a
Yeah.
book number.
I mean, the deed suggests it's one parcel. it says,
Well,
but the map that goes along with it says it could be just,
it mentions separate.
I mean, yeah, but, right.
I would hope they're called parcels.
Lot 5 and lot
Lot
4.
five, yeah, there are four, right?
1, 2, and 3, so, I mean, the only, that's what I question,
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't end there.
They got the story, they have to prove us otherwise.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that's something that is, we answered my question. We got it.
Okay.
I know, I understand what you're saying now.
Okay,
It can be filed and there's no fact check.
the deed that we have, quitclaim deed, is 86, indicates it was sold by James Carter.
Yeah.
So it was held in common ownership in 86. I suppose the applicant can go back and see who owned it before, or we can go back and, you know, and ask Amy to research who owned it in 74.
Yeah.
But that's up, Amy usually says the applicant has to give you materials by which they can. prove
Yeah,
that she's wrong.
yeah, we've done it before.
So I think what we have to say right now is, it looks like, assuming these were held in common ownership, we can't do anything, because it's one lot. Then they would have to go to the planning board and say, we want to divide so much of it to make either conforming or non-conforming, and from what Nick's saying, we don't want to do that to make non-conforming, because then we could, next step, say, well, it's your fault.
Sorry, you can't do that.
You know, you know how to make two conforming parcels here.
Right.
And they can do that now. So I think at this point, we have to ask the applicant to continue to December 11, and if they have information that these weren't held in common ownership from 67 to 74, to bring it to us. But I'd suggest that you consider what we're saying, that you might have to divide them differently than what was shown, and I give you credit, I see what you're saying, something happened in 67.
Yeah, I mean, so we request a continuance to do a little bit more, research, and then, you know, if the facts don't pan out, then
Yeah,
we'll request a withdrawal without prejudice, you know.
yeah, I think that would be smart on your part, and I think that's what we need to do at this point, so. Sorry, is there another motion to continue this matter again? Before we do that, can I hear from the woman in the audience? Again, what is your name?
It's Amy Conley.
Yes, you said that, thank you, and you live in the house
I
that's,
live in Lot 4, what was known as Lot 4.
and what do you have to add to the discussion?
Well-
For or against, or just factual or
Well, maybe
questions?
just factual, because so we bought 61 Hill Street maybe 2 years ago.
That's that.
Yes,
Okay.
it's Lot 4. We bought it from someone named Paul Lamb, who resided there for a couple of years. And actually, I know Mr. James Carter very well. He and I actually appealed a project on Hill Street on the opposite side on the Kessler project. So he and I both fought that.
Huh.
And actually, I tried many times to purchase the land from well, I didn't want the whole thing. I couldn't afford to buy the whole thing. I wanted to buy a piece to give us a little bit bigger, because we're like 19,000,
Oh.
you know, can't do anything. But he really wanted to, you know, he had a set price, and that is that.
So he is still around?
He's around, he sold it to,
Okay.
Mr. LaRusso.
He did not.
No, he
Oh,
sold,
sorry.
he says he sold
I
it.
believe Jacqueline.
Alexander.
Jacqueline
It's Jimmy's
Alexander.
wife.
That's what this.
That's his wife.
Oh,
So actually, I think, I don't know, you probably know the numbers better than I do. I don't have the paperwork to show that I think Mr. James Carter and Joanne Carter actually own the land back in 1967,
Not 67.
74 maybe?
Um,
Anyways, a long time. It was sold, I mean, we've done the historical, because it's a our house was built in 1790.
oh, well,
So it's a very historical home, and the land around it.
I don't know that house.
We have found bits and pieces, you know, of historical things from when it was, World War II hostage camp.
Oh,
And,
Was it really? Yeah.
yes, that whole area
I didn't
by
know that.
Standish was,
Why don't I know
so
that?
they used the railroad in the back to transport,
You mean POW?
yes, hostages. Yeah,
Yeah, I never knew that.
so on the land, and actually,
Yeah, I learned, yeah, I'm surprised I
Mr.
never,
Carter owned, he lived in the residence actually, and then he divorced.
while it was a POW camp.
No. And Mr. and Mrs., when they were Mr. and Mrs. Carter, they lived there.
Uh-huh.
And he actually tried to buy it back. He wanted to buy the land back, I mean, the house back, but someone else bought it. Get where I was going with that. Anyways, like he had a farm
Nice.
on that land and you can actually see the
That used to
old
be a door right there.
wood beams of where they
Goes
kept
into the old kitchen.
horses, cause you can see the electrical, but those wood beams now actually sit in water because that parcel is very wet.
Uh-huh.
And my question, I guess, for the building commissioner would be that R80 is continuous upland, is that correct?
Contiguous upland in the bylaw. it tells-
So if you look at the 6.6 acres, it is very wet. And I know they've just been out to do we see all the wood flags all over the place. So if you actually take away the wetlands, the square footage of each lot is actually much smaller. So from our concern is, because we're already like, our boundary is like right there, is that if we're looking at septic plans, not to mention the disruption to the environment, because we've got snapping turtles that come up from that pond and they come up to the upland to plant their eggs. But we've done a lot of history on looking this up because there's a cemetery up in that right corner, the Eddies, the Eddy family.
But that, they would have to approach that
Oh, yes, but I'm just saying that,
in a different, that's not us, we don't have jurisdiction over that,
oh, no. But I'm just,
those are protected.
I can tell you that the parcel has been in single ownership for as
Okay.
long as we've been able to actually find records.
Okay, well, we
Just
have
from a
to,
historical
No, I
perspective, because we
appreciate
found
that.
it so interesting anyway.
okay, thank you. So you're here to give us information, but I assume you're opposed to,
Well, I have talked, with Mr. LaRusso and we are still interested in purchasing, things, don't go quite to plan. Just to give us a little bigger room, elbow room, so to speak. From where we sit.
understood. Yes, ma'am, can you identify yourself for,
I'm Aquanetta Woods. I own the other piece of property.
which,
Probably
the long
lot five
strip.
at one time.
Yeah, it was probably lot 5 at one time.
which?
The long.
All the way to the right.
The one that's not
On the
highlighted.
right-hand side.
Yeah, this is me.
Yeah.
That's all you.
That's all me.
So I thought, let me look at the other map, I thought applicant owned that as
No.
well now.
I own this right here. And so this is supposed to be a proposed,
Entrance,
and, but because of the wetland here, there's not even 100 feet from my property to the wetland. So they could never go back here where the cemetery and everything else is.
okay,
And yes, I've been there 33 years.
Ah.
There's snapping turtles that come up every year in my yard, enormous ones,
really?
laying eggs and everything. So yeah, that's all very protected.
And again, that would be an obstruction for them, but we don't, that would be right.
And
Content,
I was here because I wanted to know what their plans were.
thank you, appreciate that,
Could I, just one more thing?
Yes.
I know I said this to the building commissioner.
okay,
I'll be around.
This was from the former building commissioner.
oh, okay,
When Paul Lamb was looking to buy the land.
just, for the record, Ms. Conley has handed, and we'll put this in the record, you can take a picture of it, or we can send it to you. A letter to Paul Lamb, 61 Hill Street, September 10, 2020, from Chris Carmichael, building commissioner.
So, yeah, he writes exactly what,
Oh,
single family home.
I don't think he really spells out
okay,
whether or not there's more than one lot there.
Yeah.
Or there's only one lot there. He just simply says, which,
So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but if this was hypothetically to be approved, you're not looking to do anything other than single-family homes on those lots, right? So,
he's talking about frontage and
Yeah.
minimum lot size.
which is a requirement of that zoning district anyway. so-
Okay. We'll put that in the record.
Yeah, you sent me a copy of that.
Okay. If the applicant wants that, we can certainly get a copy of that.
Be a field.
So,
I'd play football on that.
really,
Did you
Yeah.
ice skate out on the pond?
I skated on the pond
so you
100%.
grew up like that?
I did, yeah. I'm not that far. I'm on the other side of Crane Street,
Yeah.
like when you make that turn, the second house in.
I didn't know you grew up there though.
Yeah, so I was friends with Graham Whittemore and Ian Whittemore, the Whittemores that lived there. They've probably sold 100 times now since then, but yeah, back in the day, that was a
They were
one
there
family home.
when I bought my land. in-
Correct, I remember you buying your home,
Yeah.
but that used to be a one family home. There used to be stairs that went up to the second floor
Yeah.
from the wood. I don't know what it is now, but it was a kitchen.
It's a two-family.
Yeah, now it's a two, I think they shut it off, yeah, I think you
We
guys,
took it right down to the studs and redid the whole inside,
Okay.
yeah.
I just happen to know that well.
Okay, so we need some more information. Is there a motion to continue this to December 11 at, say, 7:05, though it won't go at 7:05, it'll have to be later.
I'll make that motion.
Any further discussion? And this is with the applicant's permission. Mr. Tenori?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak? Yes. Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Thank you. If
Thank
there's
you.
information you can come up with and provide, please let us know ahead of time.
All right.
I'll look at the email.
You want a copy
Sure,
of
I'll
that?
take
Dan
one.
has them all, they're all emails with Dan anyway, but.
Very good.
Thank you for the explanation and your time, and we'll be back on December 11th. The third item on the agenda, as you've heard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the last item on our agenda tonight is 78 Leonard Street. Is the applicant present remotely?
Yes, Miroslav Belkovich?
48 Leonard Street.
Oh, I have 78 here on the,
Have a good night.
thank you, thank you.
Yes, I'm present.
Well, send it to, yes, thank
Send it
you,
to Brian.
thank you. Who is presenting this application?
So it is, myself and the sign installer, which is present National Sign Team for IDI
Okay.
Boston Warehouse.
Can you identify yourself for the record?
Yes, Miroslav Belkovich.
Velkovich, okay, thank you. Ms. Velkovich, are you the owner or an agent?
I'm the agent for the owner and the sign installer.
Okay. So I think I understand what's going on with this one. It's nice to have one at night that I can understand ahead of time. You're looking for some signage that exceeds what the bylaw says. The bylaw, I believe, says no greater than 72 square feet and somewhat dependent on the length, the front of the building, but in any case, no bigger than 72 square feet. Here, you calculated 165.06, I think.
Yes.
We're looking for an additional 93 square feet roughly in, signage area.
So 93.06 square additional feet. I see the plans and thank you for them. Just a question or note for the record. The page showing, can you see this, the front of the, building, which is, I guess, a warehouse? Is this not in use at this time? It's vacant?
They're in the process of, tenant fit out. They're in construction right now.
It's a new building though.
It is a new building,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, so this image, the front of the, building is the sign that measures 160 square feet, correct?
Yes.
Yep. And just for noting to members, they calculated it as follows. They took this square for the IDI distributors and then a smaller section just to the top and the bottom of the lettering. Add them together and it's 165.06, I believe, or something, whatever it is. Yes, that number. Just so you know, I don't know what convention is in measuring. I thought the whole length and the whole height, but they partitioned and said this part is smaller. Just for the record, I wanted to point that out. So they're not taking this whole area, they're taking this area and then this smaller height area of insulation, and that comes out to 160. There are some other renderings though here in the packet for some other signage on the building. One is on a glass door, and then for the side of the building, that's not part of this application, correct?
No, but I believe I was advised to submit, for everything that we're gonna be installing and including the sign that's non-conforming.
Okay, but this application only concerns the one non-conforming
Yes,
side.
yes, the non-conforming
On the
one,
front of the building.
correct, yes.
What is your name for the record?
Mirza Dalkovich.
Oh, I'm sorry. Another person appeared on camera.
Mike is also there, he's the sign installer, so he has, more details on the sign specs and installation details if you
Mike,
need it.
what is your name, Mike, for the record? Mike Morelli. Okay, thank you. Yep. I couldn't see the screen from, yeah. So it's not up to us to look at like all the signs they submitted. This application is just about the front sign. Because the sign bylaw does say something about the number of signs and total square feet and all that. But the application concerns just the sign on the front of the building, the lighted large sign. That's the 165.06 square feet. So with all due respect to the applicant submitting the other renderings, I don't know where that fits in the bylaw, and I didn't research the bylaw to wonder if that needed variance as well.
It should just be.
Applying for variances for that.
Okay. So
You're right.
we're dealing with just the sign, the lighted sign on the front of the building. I understand that, is it IDI that's moving in? And they want a sign marking the building. Is that visible from the road at that point? I couldn't tell from, maps, Google.
It would be hard. I don't know if there's share screen capabilities on here, but
There is.
what is proposed versus what is within.
Sure, go ahead, share. If you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna try here.
While he's doing that.
Yep.
The sign, the front facade faces the Leonard Street Extension project, but from Leonard,
Yeah.
meaning the new Yale Appliance building and then this building, right? So from that cul-de-sac area, call it, where that extension road is, you can see the sign, it's on the front side of the building.
Okay,
But from Leonard Street, without going down the extension, you can't even see these buildings.
that's what because I think I looked on Leonard Street on Google
You
Maps.
know,
and
you
can't see
can't
down
even
that.
see the buildings
Okay,
from that.
but go ahead. We have on screen now what you're sharing.
Right, this top image shows the conforming sign built to code, showing it to scale on the building.
I see.
So you could see with the length of the mass of this building, how tiny that looks. On the bottom here, this is where we have the application that we're applying for so we can modify this to a larger sign. Takes up more space.
I got you. Understood. And Mr. Tenori just commented, it actually looks more proportioned,
Yeah, it does.
larger sign. And that is a big building. What's the front measurement of the building?
The total length, Mirza, I believe you have that, don't you, on the plot plan?
I was looking at it, but my PDF froze, my Adobe froze, so I can't.
Chair, this is Jeff O'Neill, the developer representing also with our client IDI
Yes.
as well. So we developed the park and built the building. So the front dimension of the facade of the front is 300 feet long by 200 feet wide. The total building is 60,000 square feet.
So the building certainly large, supports a larger dimension sign. Yeah, of course. Go ahead, Mr. Wozniak.
Do any of the other buildings that have been developed needed this variance?
Our company has personally not been involved in any of those other buildings at all.
None of them have sought a variance, and for the reason being that this is the last building that's in the park. So when you come up the phase 2 Leonard Street extension, the roadway, this building is about 1,200 feet from the turn, where you're solely focused on Yale. So it really acts as an additional wayfinding sign to designate customers and of IDI employees, because this is all the way back of the park.
Okay. Are there other questions from the board?
Is there any reason that the sign can't conform to the requirements and you guys can have another sign midway?
I don't believe code allows for two signs.
Yeah,
And
it says,
they-
the code says only one sign per occupancy.
And the other areas further are not the lots where IDI could place a sign. So Yale owns their lot, and there's another lot, lot 4 back there.
There's no signs at the entrance to this?
There's signs at the entrance of the Phase 2 roadway way down the bottom, but that's it. So this is really a facade sign that's on the front. Architecturally, it fits well within what's proposed, as you see, because we have a wide swath of frontage that's on the panel that's sitting there that actually looks well with a larger sign.
Okay. Are there other questions from the board? Let me ask that if there's anybody to speak in favor of or in opposition to the application. For the record, there's nobody in the room except us. Is there anybody else online? Brian? Could you take down the share?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
What's that, is it?
This is industrial zone.
Oh, I thought it was commercial.
So there is no hand raised, there is no unmuting of mics for
Yeah.
any abutters.
They can have multiple signs. I thought it was commercial zone, but hold on. Yeah, it says zone commercial.
Okay, I could be wrong.
Well, the application says commercial.
It does say in the bylaw that one freestanding sign. We ask the developer if it's industrial, commercial, in case.
I'll tell you,
It's industrial zone.
It is industrial?
yeah,
Okay.
I'll tell you
So
right now.
zoning bylaw mentions that, one freestanding sign per street frontage not to exceed 12 feet in height and 48 square feet in sign area is allowed. No more than 2 freestanding signs are allowed.
It's industrial.
So industrial allows, it seems like industrial allows 2 freestanding signs, so you could have waypoint signage.
Are you looking at D?
D. And D's about billboards.
D is maintenance. General provisions for signs.
My opinion is, they've developed several buildings there. No one else has needed this exemption. You can have a freestanding sign.
Yeah. Well,
You could have free.
is the building, the tenant, I guess, and the sign company, not condo.
You also have to think, and sorry not to interrupt,
No,
but,
go ahead.
and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, this is Nick. The freestanding sign is on said lot, not on the roadway. So he could have 2 freestanding signs on the lot, but the lot isn't the road.
Correct. And there is a monument sign that's at the entrance to their building.
Yeah,
But the monument sign's font and lettering is only about 4 inches tall.
yeah, it's not very large.
It's an organized park where all the monument signs were done in uniformity.
So if you looked at the property at the site plan, Lucas, if they were to put 2 monument signs, they really would be, for lack of a better term, you would have one on the right corner of the building and one on the left corner of the building on the cul-de-sac way down at the very end of the road, not on the Leonard Street portion, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one entrance. Before I say it, let me pull the plot plan up.
I've been there, I went to, Broadbridge, so I know which building it is. It's just, it opens up,
How many feet of frontage is on the street? Street frontage.
I believe I have calculated roughly 421 feet. Is that right, Mirza?
I can't look at the plans, my Adobe's crashed, but it sounds about right.
So, in industrial zone, a second freestanding sign of same height and area is allowed if the lot exceeds 300 feet of frontage.
Yeah.
No more than 2 freestanding signs, but this isn't the freestanding sign.
No, this is a wall.
Right.
Well, 420.5, Jeff, is what the certified plan shows for frontage.
Okay. Is that plan in front of you now on the screen?
I have it on my iPad, I'm not attached to the Zoom though.
Got it.
Sorry.
But this is industrial zone, we agree?
Correct.
It is industrial, yes.
What is, I don't have my book, what is the lead up? Exact number,
What are you looking for, Tom?
185, is it,
175.84.
84? What comes before this?
Freestanding signs. It's right there. It's 84D, regulation of on-premise signs by zone. 175.8.4 D. And that gets you into the industrial zone, so it would be D to C. And 2D.
I see, at village, commercial, and industrial zones, signs are allowed as follows. Yep, thanks.
Yeah, but if you continue on, they're seeking relief from that same section, 8.4D, and then number 3, which is 1 wall sign per occupancy, not to exceed 2 square feet in sign areas, yada, 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 yada.
That's,
But there's a calculation to that as well.
that's the one I was talking about, though, this 3 says maximum of 72 square feet, or 15% of the frontal area, whichever is smaller. But that's the applications for a variance to this, for a wall sign.
Correct.
So freestanding sign is different, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So for the record, nobody else to speak in favor of or in opposition to the application? Do you have any other questions, or is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. All those in favor, Mr. Venori?
Aye.
Mr. Wozniak? Mr. Noel? Okay, so the public hearing is closed. Open for discussion. I'm not sure I'm following, the interplay between freestanding and the wall sign. This application is just for the wall sign?
Yes.
Right, yeah. I mean, they're subject to the bylaw for the freestanding signs. If there's a problem with what they want to do, they'll have to apply. So I'm viewing just the wall sign, the lighted sign on the front of the building, which allows 72 square feet.
Isn't there a calculation depending on frontage?
Maximum
Area of the building.
Whatever is smaller, 72 square feet is gonna be much smaller than 15% of the front side of that building.
That's where it comes from.
Okay.
72 square feet.
Yeah, so 72 square feet is bigger than the
15%.
of the 450 feet. Yeah, correct? Then that would only allow them to have 50 square feet or whatever, so up to a max, so let's just say we give them a maximum of 72 square feet. The second part doesn't even matter.
No, I don't think it does.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I didn't do that calculation. But the point is, they're looking for 165.06. I don't have any issue with it. It's a building sign that's, I'm not sure it's even visible from the road. They may be spending money on something they don't need, but that's what they applied for. I don't have a problem with the variance. But open for discussion.
I'm good. I don't have any questions.
You know, I always go back to setting some kind of precedent where someone approaches us later on and says, well, they got that 180 square foot sign, they didn't need that. No, the building in the park has that size sign, so I just don't wanna have a situation down the line where Cumberland Farms walks in here and says, oh, my gas station sign to be 3 times the size.
We actually just approved that.
Yeah, we actually.
We actually approved that.
But
Yeah,
gas
but
station-
within a range. Remember, that was like 72, but their logo design was 78.
Right,
It wasn't
it wasn't
72
normal,
to
right.
200.
But I did the same thing. I remember doing this exact same thing. I looked at what it would be by rendering and what they were asking for, and it made sense. Right? Again,
Yeah, it's not that it doesn't make sense, and
Yeah.
the location is set far back from the neighborhood or anything like that, but.
I would think if like, when you look at it, it's within the doors, right? If this thing was out by the windows, I'd be like, hey, come on, like, let's go it down a bit. That makes sense to me anyways.
It balances.
And I get the square footage, I totally get it.
It doesn't, to me, it's not offensive to anything, and it doesn't, I don't think it harms anything in terms of the, advantage from passersby, or I think it's actually more proportioned that way too. I think the bylaw is pretty antiquated and, doesn't fit a lot of situations, and we're trying to, the town wants more commercial tenants. I just don't see a reason to say no to this.
I'm not saying no to it, I always go back to the precedent situation, but,
Yeah.
number 5 does talk about, cause it comes down to residential properties, right? So eliminate signs shall not be permitted to shine onto residential property, so that that's outside of this application.
Yeah.
And they have to have the sign off between 11 PM and 6 AM, so that's in here as well, so.
Right, there are other restrictions to the use, right?
So, yeah, as long as there's no
Okay,
residents nearby.
so is there a motion to approve the variance as presented? I will attach as the plan of record, the dimensioned sign on the front elevation page of the plan, which shows the approximate measurements, and we'll note the measurements on the dimension sheet as well. Is there a motion to approve the variance for the sign, the front wall sign, to those dimensions?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Okay. Any further discussion? No. How do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Wozniak? Yes. And Mr. Noel votes yes as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Granted.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
We'll draw up an opinion, a decision, and we'll attach a couple of the pages from the presentation. 100%. The board discussion was that the owner still has to abide by the other aspects of the bylaw that deal with the lighting of the sign and the time of day and night and things of that sort. The variance only concerns the sizing for the front wall sign. But with that, thank you for your patience and thank you for taking part.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good night. Okay. Well, we did a lot of nothing.
I love the signs that don't require permits.
I was looking at that exact same thing.
Political signs.
Political signs.
It says it's supposed to be down within 4
Yeah,
days.
so many days of the election.
Or church signs can be as big as they want to be.
Hey, religious exemption.
Giant process, everyone.
Right.
Okay, so is there anything else tonight to discuss?
Unless Nick has anything.
Mhm.
Then we're good.
Anything new coming December 11th, or?
No, there's nothing else in OpenGov for zoning board.
Don't jinx it.
Maybe we'll get rid of these three.
Yeah.
Once and for
Well,
all.
it's after 30 days now. We're under 30 days, so we'll see them in January.
What?
Right? It's 30 days from when they apply.
3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks.
Well, it depends when they can advertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yep,
Do we have meetings set up for next year?
I don't think we did.
You're only through December, right?
Yeah, I think we're in December.
Because
you want it? Sure.
my time is getting. 4 kids is basketball and all the crap that's going in my calendar.
Yep, I hear you.
I'm not excited.
January, you got the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd. Those are the 3 Wednesdays in the middle of the month.
8, 15, 22nd.
Yeah, 15's right in the middle of the month.
I can't do 22nd. I can do either the 8th or the 15th.
15th looks good to me. It's spaced out a little bit too.
What is it? I'm sorry, the 15th?
January 15th, the sun will be coming back.
Hopefully.
It is depressing.
Yeah.
Alright, so it's only going
3:45 is gonna be dark in the next couple of weeks.
And it starts getting better though, like December 10th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It turns around pretty quick.
The afternoon starts extending on December 10th. The morning doesn't extend till like January 6th, but
Jim's not available after January 21st.
Yeah,
what's that?
might be tied up for a little bit.
Let's not talk about that.
February?
Yeah, so January 15th,
I can do the 12th. I have nothing on my calendar. I don't know how you guys feel.
that's not the holiday, right? That's
No, the
not
holiday-
birthday, but,
The holiday, President's Day is the 17th.
okay. So the 12th, February 12th?
Yeah, I'll be back from Scottsdale. Yeah,
Going to Scottsdale, eh?
bachelor party.
Uh-oh.
I know I have a training coming up
Flying
in
Thursday.
February.
Friday night, we go out, Saturday's waste management tournament, Sunday's Super Bowl, the bachelor birthday party is on Monday. We fly back on Tuesday.
Bachelor's party on Monday.
The bachelor's birthday
Oh,
is
birthday.
also on Monday while we're there. It's gonna be,
Lucas is gonna be
Oh, the
arrested,
12th is Lincoln's birthday. If you guys are wondering.
but that's not the holiday.
that's not the
Just
holiday.
saying, just in case you want.
Isn't that holiday just because of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think, I'm Washington, it's supposed to be Washington, Lincoln. Okay, then, wanna look to March?
Sure.
12 or 19?
Oh, wow, it's a repeat.
12,
I can do 12.
okay. So 3 meetings for the first 3 months. And that's all we're gonna do, we're gonna quit. After March, all right, is there anything else tonight? Thanks. See what they come up with in all of these 3, but I think, yeah.
No, the one on Hill Street, those 3 properties, I remember that checkerboard guy, he came back there like 4 times and he proved us wrong, I was like, you're right.
Well, the checkerboard is different.
I wasn't here for that.
That lot's spaced out.
They're all non-conforming, small, he was looking for small, but then they're all like combined,
Unless-
on one lot.
Yeah, I put that in there.
Wasn't the
I
adjoining
don't know
lot.
if you wanna put it in the record.
Yeah, I'm gonna scan these in. Oh, you
We
made
can,
copies?
we can scan them, I mean, copies of the day.
Okay,
I can scan them in.
well, I could, yeah, you know,
That's easy enough tomorrow with Brian. Brian
Thanks
can get
for-
a copy, just scan it in and attach it.
yeah, the file separate applications for each lot. I don't know how we do that anyway. But
It's gonna be.
Oh, yeah, it is one.
Yeah.
You gotta close the meeting.
It's funny, I didn't realize it. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it until I saw it. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I know that lot. I didn't realize
that's
it.
interesting.
The history on that house is cool though.
Is there a motion to adjourn at 8:24?
I'll make that motion.
So I can
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.